lot of the bodies were found near transportation points, bus stations, train stations in particular, which indicated that the killer, whoever he was somebody who used the Soviet transportation system extensively.
Soviet Union, early 1980s. A country where officials claimed serial killers did not exist. But while newspapers spoke about a bright communist future, bodies were already appearing in the forest belts of Rostov. He looked like an ordinary Soviet citizen, a teacher, a husband, a party member, quiet, invisible. And that invisibility made him the perfect predator.
There was a report on the radio that the trial was beginning in Rostov of a 56-year-old sex maniac named Andrei Chikatilo. I immediately thought about the name and remembered that I had studied with an Andrei Chikatilo at university. I knew that he was older than I was. The rest of us were younger. So I got out the photograph straight away. After taking it, I looked at it for a long time. He had the kind of eyes that it was unpleasant to look at, even in a photograph. Maybe it was a kind of magnetism in his eyes which made it possible for him to kill so many people, to make them agree to go with him when he asked them.
12 years of terror, more than 50 victims, and a system that released the killer back onto the streets 3 different times. Chapter 1. The Perfect Citizen.
I worked with Chikatilo from 1981 to 1984. What is there to say about him? He was a dull, straightforward man who didn't stand out here in any way. Not good and not bad. Outside work, none of us had anything to do with him. When the newspapers reported what he had been up to, I was completely taken by surprise. For a long time, I couldn't believe it, until they produced all the proof and showed all this brutality.
Andrei Chikatilo was born in 1936. His childhood was shaped by famine, war, and fear. He grew up isolated and humiliated. Classmates mocked him constantly. Years later, psychologists would believe this was where rage and powerlessness began to grow inside him.
Of course, with Chikatilo, we have a case of abnormal development from childhood. His mother brought him up on her own, and material conditions were bad. Besides that, there were those experiences directly linked to the occupation, the war, and so on. For example, one of his most vivid memories was of the bombing raids and the destruction they caused, the bodies being carried on wagons. Then came the post-war years, the years of famine, about which so much has been written recently, where there really were registered cases of cannibalism.
But as an adult, Chikatilo appeared almost perfectly normal. He worked as a teacher, he had a family, he joined the Communist Party, the image of a model Soviet citizen. And that was exactly why investigators struggled to believe the killer was standing right in front of them. While the country trusted his ordinary appearance, more bodies continued to appear in the forest. Chapter 2. The failures of the investigation. The Soviet system was not prepared for a serial killer. Investigators searched for answers, but even the concept of a serial killer was rarely acknowledged publicly. Then came one of the darkest mistakes in the entire case. A man named Alexander Kravchenko was arrested for one of the murders. Despite weak evidence, he was convicted. Kravchenko was executed, but the murders continued. The real killer was still walking free. Can a justice system ever be forgiven for executing an innocent man just to calm public fear? Chapter 3. Operation Forest Strip. By the late 1980s, the number of victims kept growing. Investigator Viktor Burakov realized traditional methods were failing. That's when psychiatrist Alexander Bukhanovsky joined the investigation. Bukhanovsky created the first psychological profile of a serial killer in Soviet history, and the description matched Chikatilo almost perfectly. But even after his arrest, investigators still lacked solid evidence. Inside his bag, police found a knife, rope, and behavior so unsettling that even experienced detectives felt disturbed. Then, Chikatilo started talking.
Name, Chikatilo Andrei Romanovich. Year of birth, 1936. Place of birth, Sumskaya region, Aktir district. Village, Yabloknoye. What's your education? Higher education? Higher education.
Final chapter. The Fall of the Monster. During interrogation, he confessed to dozens of murders. Investigators were horrified by details only the real killer could have known.
Why should I listen to your rubbish? Now you're trying to force another 10 killings on me. Taking into consideration the monstrous crimes which he committed, the court has no alternative but to impose the only sentence which he deserves. I therefore sentence him to death. Do you regret that you've committed such crimes? Have you at last begun to repent? I don't know what to repent. They framed me. They pinned more and more confessions on me. Dozens of them. 70 of them. The last question. What do you think of the end of your life? Do you think of death? I don't know. I'm in the other world already. I've been there a long time already. I was killed many times. I'm cut off from this world. Nothing is left in this world. Nothing.
In 1994, Andrei Chikatilo was executed. But one question still remains. Was he a monster created by the Soviet system? Or was the evil always there from the beginning? For the first time, a psychological profile was used to catch a serial killer, a method that is now standard in investigations around the world. But behind every statistic, there is a name, a child who never came home, a family that waited, a life that was taken in a forest belt no one was watching. The system failed. The investigators fought, and one psychiatrist's profile finally stopped the monster. The question is not only who Chikatilo was. The question is, what kind of system allows someone like him to walk free for 12 years? If this case made you think, share it, discuss it, because understanding evil is the first step to preventing it.